Hey everyone, welcome back. You know the deal. Weird stories, chill Minecraft, and no judgment. Today's episode is packed with some of the strangest, most chaotic, and painfully real Reddit stories I've ever found. We've got everything. Soup-related disasters, fake weddings, emotional vending machines, lost grandpas, flaming closets, and a man who got stuck in a recycling bin for 3 hours. Some stories are hilarious. Some are just unsettling. So if you're here to study, chill, sleep, or vibe, you're in the right place. Grab a snack, settle in, and let's dive in. Here's the first story. I used to work as a part-time janitor at a local movie theatre. Most days were chill. Mop some floors, wipe the popcorn machine, maybe fish a soda cup out of a toilet. You know, the classics. But one Friday night, about 15 minutes into my shift, I got a radio call. The women's restroom, Theatre 6, code? Weird. That wasn't a real code. Real. The manager just didn't want to say, "There's something insane happening," over the walkie-talkie. So I head over. And I'm greeted by a crowd of people standing outside the bathroom like it's a concert. Phones out, eyes wide. One lady is covering her kid's eyes. I push through and step inside. And immediately backpedal. Because there's a woman, barefoot, covered in glitter, crouched on the counter, yelling at her own reflection in the mirror. Not like, "You got this, Queen," yelling. More like, "You lied to me, Sharon. You said we were done with this." There was no one else in there. I cautiously say, "Ma'am, are you okay?" She spins to face me, points dramatically and says, "It's you. You're the one from the commercial." I said, "What commercial?" She said, "The soap one." Then she took off running, out of the bathroom, down the hall, and straight into Theatre 6, which was showing a horror movie. Half the audience screamed. Security caught up with her eventually. Turns out she wasn't dangerous, just very high and very convinced she was trapped in a Dove commercial. Later, when I was mopping up glitter from the sink, someone from concessions came in and said, "That's the 4th one this month." Apparently, this happens. Regularly? Anyway, that was the day I stopped using public restrooms during full moons. Okay, that was wild. Let's keep going. Here's the second story. So this happened 2 years ago, and I still think about it at least once a week. I was working at this medium-sized marketing agency where everyone was trying really hard to be cool. You know the type. Beanbags in the conference room, kombucha on tap, brainstorming walks. Anyway, we had this massive pitch coming up for a big tech company. Huge opportunity. And for some reason, my boss decided I should lead the presentation, which, to be clear, I was not qualified for. I'm a graphic designer. I make logos. That's it. But apparently, I had the vibe. So they put me in charge of a team of 5 people and gave me 1 week to put together a full pitch deck, branding concept, and marketing rollout. I immediately panicked and did what any self-respecting adult would do. I Googled how to lead a pitch team. By day 2, things were falling apart. Our copywriter called in sick. One of the interns accidentally deleted half of our shared folder. And our video editor quit mid-project because Mercury was in retrograde. Somehow, we pulled it together. We didn't sleep. We didn't shower. At one point, I hallucinated a second coffee machine. The night before the pitch, I stayed at the office to finalize everything. I checked the files 100 times, exported backups, printed notes, rehearsed in front of the mirror like a deranged TED Talk reject. The next morning, I arrived early, dressed nice, confident, We were scheduled to present at 9:30 a.m. At 9, the projector stopped working. At 9:05, the catering delivery showed up with food for a different office. At 9:10, I realized I had uploaded the wrong version of our deck. It had no images, just placeholder text and a title slide that said, "Insert magic here." Panic, sweating, internal screaming. I frantically tried to download the correct version from the cloud, but the Wi-Fi was crawling. At 9:28, 2 minutes before showtime, the senior VP from the client's side walked in and said, "We're excited to see what you've got." I said, "Us too." Then the lights dimmed, the projector buzzed, and the old draft opened on a 12-foot screen to a room of execs. It said, "Insert magic here." Silence. I felt my soul leave my body. Then I stood up, walked to the front and said, "You know what? Let's talk about magic." And I gave the entire presentation from memory. I walked them through the concept, described each slide, improvised visuals, acted out the transitions. I made eye contact. I smiled. I used my hands. I faked confidence so hard it circled back and became real. Halfway through, I saw the creative director nod. At the end, someone even clapped. We didn't win the account, but they said it was the most engaging pitch they'd seen that week. My boss gave me Friday off. I went home, collapsed on my floor, and slept for 13 hours. To this day, when I feel like I'm not ready for something, I whisper to myself, "Insert magic here." All right, I wasn't ready for that one either, huh? But we're not stopping now. The next story. My grandma once faked a family emergency so I wouldn't have to go on a second date. Not because the guy was creepy, but because she said, and I quote, "His energy was beige." Let me back up. I was 23, fresh out of college, and newly in the phase of life where people try to find their soulmates via dating apps while crying into microwaved mac and cheese. I'd gone on a few okay dates, a couple of weird ones, and one that ended with a guy asking if I wanted to see his toe ring collection. So when I matched with this guy, let's call him Mark, who seemed normal, I was cautiously optimistic. Mark worked in IT, had a dog named Pickles, and liked baking. He was nice, polite, and sent me memes that weren't stolen from 2014 Facebook. We went to a coffee shop. He was sweet, but something was off. Like, he was aggressively average. We talked about weather for 20 minutes. When I made a joke, he said, "Huh? Funny." Not laughed, just said the word funny. By the end, I was zoning out and planning what leftovers I had at home. We parted politely. I wasn't going to ghost him. I just figured I'd text the classic, "Hey, I don't think we're a match," later. But then Mark texted me, "That was amazing. Can't wait to see you again." I didn't reply. 2 hours later, he texted again, "You left your energy in my soul." Okay, I still didn't reply. And then he messaged my grandma. See, I'd posted a group photo from brunch last week. He must have found her profile. She uses her full name and has a public page because she doesn't believe in internet secrets. He messaged her, "Hi, I think your granddaughter is ignoring me." I really felt a connection. My grandma called me and said, "Do you want me to handle this?" I said yes. She posted a public Facebook status tagging him that said, "Due to a sudden and severe beige energy exposure, my granddaughter has fallen into a romantic coma. She will not be dating for the foreseeable future. Thank you for understanding." She blocked him, and then she baked me brownies. Grandma's a real one. Huh. That was oddly wholesome. Here's the fourth story. Let me just start by saying, I never meant to join a competitive underground pillow fighting league. It just happened. It started on a random Tuesday when my roommate Dave burst into the apartment, dropped a duffel bag at my feet and said, "Put these on, we're late." I said, "For what?" He said, "Destiny." 20 minutes later, I was standing in a warehouse lit entirely by purple neon lights, surrounded by about 40 people in pajama sets and mouthguards. A man with a mullet and a whistle barked, "New blood," and everyone cheered. Someone handed me a silk robe. On the back, in glittery cursive, it said, "Fluff Daddy." I said, "I'm sorry, what is this?" Dave slapped a pillow into my hands. "Just follow my lead." Then he was gone, swallowed by a crowd chanting, "Whack, whack, whack." Before I could escape, the whistle blew and I was shoved into a ring made of couch cushions. Across from me, a 5'2" woman in bunny slippers and war paint. The ref shouted, "Round one, Feathered Fury." She lunged. I don't remember much after that. Just feathers. So many feathers. And the taste of laundry detergent. Apparently, I blacked out mid-swing and took her down with a surprise spinning lunge. The crowd went feral. Someone threw Capri Suns into the ring. I was crowned Rookie of the Night. It didn't stop there. The next week, I was back. Not by choice. Dave had posted my victory on Reddit and tagged me. Now I had a reputation to uphold. I trained, I sparred, I learned terminology like duck and fluff and the reverse nap. My finishing move was dubbed Pillow Mageddon. There were rules, brackets, a championship. One guy had a sponsorship from Bed Bath Beyond. At one point, I was featured in a local news segment titled Feathers and Fury Inside the World of Competitive Pillow Combat. My parents saw it. My mom texted, "You looked handsome. Maybe get a real job though?" I didn't stop until the finals. My opponent, a 60-year-old ex-Marine known only as the Quilt. He whispered sweet dreams before launching a double pillow uppercut. I lost, barely. But that night, the league presented me with the Golden Zipper, a satin onesie award for heart, hustle, and fluff. I cried. Then I retired. Sometimes I still hear the chant. Whack, whack, whack. Woo. That was actual madness. You still with me? Good. Here's the fifth story. I once sent a resignation email to the entire company and then accidentally hit reply all again to explain why I did it, and then again to say, never mind, let me explain. This was during the pandemic, and I was working remotely for a company with about 200 employees. I was miserable. The workload was awful. My manager micromanaged every breath I took, and HR once told me to smile more on Zoom. I had finally reached a breaking point. One night at 11 p.m., wine in hand, I decided, that's it, I'm done. I opened my email, typed up a resignation message that included phrases like toxic culture, soul-crushing management, and I have dreams, you know. I didn't address it to anyone specific. I typed in the company-wide email group name to prove a point, intending to replace it with just my boss before sending. But I didn't. I hit send. Silence. Then, 5 minutes later, a reply popped up. From a guy in accounting, "Hey, I don't know you, but good luck out there." Then another, "Dude, this is legendary." And another, "Are we all quitting? Should I be quitting?" I panicked, tried to undo it. Too late. So I did the worst thing possible. I hit reply all again and said, "Sorry, that wasn't meant for everyone. Please ignore." And then, in a third panic-fueled email, again to everyone, "Actually, I meant it. Never mind. I quit again." People started cheering me on in threads. One person made a meme. Another offered to refer me to their company. My manager scheduled an emergency Zoom meeting. I logged in. He looked tired. He said, "So, that was dramatic." I said, "Yeah." He said, "You still have to give 2 weeks." I said, "Fair." In those 2 weeks, I got more praise than I had in 2 years. My final day, someone made me a virtual goodbye card with every email screenshot and the caption, "Quitter of the Year." It's still the best exit I've ever had. Let's keep going. Next story. My downstairs neighbour once tried to evict me because I wore slippers too loud. Not boots, not heels. Soft, fuzzy, Target brand slippers. It started with a note on my door that read, "Please walk softer. I can hear your soul stomping." I laughed, thought it was a joke. I even replied with a smiley face and a pack of earplugs. Big mistake. The next morning, I got another note. "I'm serious. I've filed a noise complaint. May God forgive you." Okay, I started walking like a ninja, tiptoeing. Floating. Sometimes crawling. Didn't matter. The notes kept coming. "Your microwave is aggressive. Do you need to open your fridge like that? My cat has anxiety now." One day, I was boiling pasta at 6 p.m. and got a knock on my door. There he stood, mid-50s, turtleneck, frown like he practiced it in the mirror. He said, "You've disrupted the harmony of this complex." I blinked. I was making dinner. He said, "Your saucepans are vengeful." I said, "Okay." He handed me a typed letter that began, "To whom it may concern at the Galactic Court of Noise Violations." I thought it was satire. It was not. He later filed an official complaint with our building, including timestamps of when I sang while folding laundry. Management emailed me confused and slightly amused. I offered to meet them in person to explain. They said, "No need, we've all met Greg." Eventually, I got a white noise machine and slippers with double foam padding. I even tried walking barefoot. Greg started leaving notes about my breathing. So I started wearing tap shoes. We're still in a silent war. Last week, I received a noise complaint for turning book pages too aggressively. I framed it, "It's art now." Okay, that might have been the most realistic nightmare yet. Let's go next. I once waved at someone who wasn't waving at me. That's it. That's the story. No, okay, I'll explain. Because this wasn't just a casual miswave. This was a full-on, enthusiastic, two-arm flail in the middle of a parking lot. I was walking out of the grocery store, feeling good. I had snacks. I had a drink. The sun was shining. And then I saw her. My high school friend Emily, across the lot, waving like she just won a game show. So I waved back. Big wave. Stupid smile. Did the little jog walk thing like, "Oh, hey." Except, she wasn't waving at me. She was waving at someone behind me, someone named Josh, apparently. Because when I got within 10 feet, she looked directly through me, ran past me, and hugged a very confused man in a football hoodie. I stood there mid-step like I was buffering. And then, and this is the worst part, I pretended I was also waving. At a bush. Yep, I committed. Full send. I walked over to the bush next to the parking meter and gave it a little nod. "Hey man," I mumbled. The bush didn't respond. Somebody nearby laughed. I don't know who. I didn't look. I just turned around and walked straight home with my groceries and shame. And that's why I now wear sunglasses and headphones everywhere. Full social armor. Let's close it out with one last story. Here's the final story. I still remember the day like it was yesterday. The day I unintentionally became the star of my local coffee shop's most bizarre mix-up ever. It all started on a chilly autumn morning. I was running late for work, barely had time to grab a bite, and decided that a quick stop at my favourite coffee shop was the perfect solution. The place was small, cosy, and the baristas knew most of the regulars by name. I loved it there. The smell of fresh espresso, the soft indie music playing in the background, and that warm vibe that made me feel like I was stepping into a friend's living room rather than a business. That morning, the line was longer than usual. I sighed, clutching my coat tighter, trying not to miss the bus. When I finally got to the counter, I ordered my usual, a medium latte with oat milk and a blueberry muffin. The barista smiled, punched in the order, and told me it would be about 5 minutes. I grabbed a seat near the window, pulled out my phone, and started scrolling. It wasn't long before a man in a sharp suit and glasses walked in, looking rushed but polite. He scanned the room, spotted the barista, and ordered a double espresso and a croissant. The barista called out, "Double espresso for Alex." Now, here's where the fun begins. I'm not Alex. But I stood up, smiling politely, and walked over to grab the cup. The man in the suit looked at me confused. "Excuse me, that's mine," he said. "Oh, sorry, I thought that was my name," I replied, holding up the cup. He laughed. "No worries, I'm Alex." I nodded, and in a moment of misplaced confidence, I said, "Hey Alex, what if we swapped orders? You get my latte and muffin, I get your espresso and croissant. A little mix-up might brighten our day." He chuckled and agreed. We sat next to each other, sipping and eating, and soon started chatting. Turned out he was a local entrepreneur who had recently launched a tech startup. I, on the other hand, was a freelance writer struggling to find steady gigs. What started as a simple coffee order turned into a fascinating conversation about life, ambitions, and the city's best hidden spots. As we were finishing up, he said, "Hey, want to check out a new cafe I'm thinking of investing in?" I hesitated but said yes. We walked over together, only to realize it was a completely different place. One that had just opened last week, with quirky decor and walls covered in murals of cats playing jazz. We laughed at our accidental adventure. A week later, I received an email from Alex inviting me to collaborate on a blog for his startup. The coffee mix-up turned into a meaningful friendship and new opportunities I hadn't anticipated. Sometimes, a little mistake, like grabbing the wrong coffee, can lead to the best surprises. And that was the last story for today. If you made it this far, you're a legend. Let me know which story broke your brain the most. Like, comment, subscribe. All that good stuff. New Chaos drops every day. Thanks for watching. Stay weird, stay cozy, and I'll see you in the next one.